The forest was silent. Snow fell in slow, heavy flakes, coating the trees in thick white. Marcus Hale stepped outside his cabin, pulling his old coat tighter against the wind. He had lived here alone for years, far from cities, far from noise. It was the kind of silence that most men feared, but Marcus welcomed it. Silence meant safety. Silence meant nothing strange was coming. That night, silence ended. It started as a low rumble, so faint he thought it was thunder. But there were no storms in this kind of cold. The sound grew, rolling across the mountains, echoing between the trees. Then came the cry, deep, painful, not human. It was a roar full of agony, shaking the ground beneath his boots. Marcus froze. His breath turned to mist in the icy air. The sound came again, closer this time. Something massive was out there. Something alive against every instinct telling him to go back inside. Lock the door and hide. Marcus walked toward the sound. He carried only a lantern and the steady courage of a man who had nothing left to lose. The forest grew darker, the snow deeper. The cry rose once more, but weaker now, like the final breath of a creature too proud to die quietly. Marcus followed it through the pines until he reached a small clearing and stopped cold. A body lay in the snow. Not a deer. Not a bear. Something out of nightmare and myth. The creature was huge, its scales black as iron, its wings folded and broken. Steam rose from its nostrils as it struggled to breathe, each exhale melting patches of snow beneath it. Eyes like molten gold flickered open and locked onto Marcus. A dragon. Marcus's first thought was that he had gone mad. Dragons belonged to stories, to books, to the world of children's tales. Yet here it was, bleeding, dying, real. Before he could move, the dragon tried to lift its head. It failed. The voice that came from its throat was not a roar this time, but words, soft and trembling. Human. Help us. Marcus stumbled back. His lantern nearly fell into the snow. His heart pounded as the impossible sank in. The dragon had spoken. It coughed, dark smoke spilling from its jaws, then repeated in a desperate rasp, "Help us. Please." Marcus didn't answer. His mind screamed at him to run, to leave this madness behind, but his feet refused. He was staring into the eyes of something ancient, something powerful yet beaten, begging. The ground trembled. Marcus turned sharply. Shadows moved between the trees. Shapes emerged from the storm. 3 more dragons stepped into the clearing, their wings folding tight against their bodies. Snow clung to their scales, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Marcus's lantern light shook as he raised it higher. The 3 creatures stopped a short distance away. They did not attack. They bowed their heads. The oldest dragon, its horns long and curved like blades, lowered its voice and spoke. "We have searched. For you? For me?" Marcus's voice cracked, though he hated the weakness in it. "Why me?" The dragon's eyes glowed brighter. "Because only a human can save us. The others are gone. You are all that remains." Marcus shook his head in disbelief. "This is insane. I can't even save myself." "I'm just the dragon," interrupted, with a growl that shook the trees. "No, you are more than you believe. We would not beg if it were not so." Marcus stared at the herd of dragons, then back at the dying one at his feet. Its breathing slowed. A heavy wing twitched weakly. For a moment, pity overcame fear. But pity turned quickly into something else. Dashed suspicion. He narrowed his eyes. "What do you really want from me?" The dragon closest to him stepped forward, snow crunching beneath its claws. "We are hunted. Something beyond stars comes for us. It has already taken our kin. If we fall, your kind will follow. The old pact must be renewed." Marcus frowned. "Pact." The dragon's voice grew rough, almost angry. "Do you not remember, human? Has your species forgotten? Long ago, dragons and humans stood as one against the darkness. Together, we broke the sky and burned the void. You carry the blood of those who led us. Without you, we die." Marcus's chest tightened. He wanted to call them liars, monsters, delusions from his lonely mind. But the way they looked at him there was no mockery, no trick. They looked at him as if he mattered, as if he was the answer to a question older than both their kinds. The dying dragon's head shifted. Its golden eye fixed on Marcus with a plea so raw it pierced straight through him. "Help us," it whispered again, then silence. Its body went still. Steam stopped rising from its nostrils. Snow began to cover its wings. Marcus stood frozen, surrounded by 3 living dragons in the dead of night, one of their own lying lifeless at his boots. His heart raced. His mind burned with questions. Why him? Why humans? Why now? The oldest dragon broke the silence. "More will come soon. You must decide, human. Will you stand with us? Or will you let the void devour everything?" The words hung heavy in the icy air. Marcus looked at the lifeless body at his feet. He thought of the roar that had shaken the forest, of the eyes that had begged for help, of the impossible truth standing before him. And then, above the trees, a new sound filled the sky. Not thunder. Not a dragon's cry. Engines, something unnatural, metallic. Descending fast, the dragons turned their heads upward, wings trembling with fear. Marcus followed their gaze, and for the first time in years, a spark of terror and wonder lit his chest. Whatever was coming. It wasn't human. The night sky glowed faintly red. Marcus stared upward, his breath fogging in the frozen air. The sound grew loud, engines cutting through clouds, heavy and unnatural. The dragons around him shifted nervously, wings twitching as if ready to flee. One of them growled low. "They've found us." Marcus gripped his lantern tighter. "Who?" The oldest dragon, the one with long curved horns, turned its molten eyes toward him. "The hunters. They come from beyond the stars. We call them Void Reapers." The name alone chilled Marcus more than the snow ever could. The dragons pressed closer around him, forming a shield with their massive bodies. The dying dragon at his feet lay still, covered in falling snow, as if the world itself had buried the last trace of its life. The sound above grew fainter, moving past them, deeper into the forest. Only when silence returned did Marcus find his voice. "You still haven't answered me?" he said, trying to keep his tone steady. "Why me? Why a human? Why not fight your own battles?" The dragon leader stepped forward, lowering its head until its golden eyes were level with his. "Because this war is not only ours, it never was. Long ago, when the void first came, our kind could not face it alone. We made a pact with your ancestors. Humans and dragons fought as one. Without humans, we cannot win." Marcus laughed bitterly, though the sound was hollow in the empty night. "That's insane. I'm no warrior. I'm a mechanic. I fix engines. I live in a cabin in the snow. What could I possibly do against something that hunts you?" The dragon's eyes narrowed. "You carry the bloodline. You are chosen whether you wish it or not." Marcus shook his head. "Chosen? For what?" The dragon's answer came in a low growl, filled with something between reverence and fear. "To awaken the weapon. The only thing the Void Reapers fear. It lies buried beneath your world's ice, hidden for centuries. Only a human can call it back to life." Marcus blinked, his mind racing. Weapon? Beneath the ice? It sounded like madness, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the dragon's words carried the weight of truth. The second dragon, smaller but fiercer in its gaze, stepped closer. Its wings spread slightly as though restless. "We have searched long for one like you. The stars whispered of your bloodline. Now we have found you before the Reapers could."
Atch!
Marcus took a step back. "And what if I refuse?" The leader's golden eyes flared. "Then we all fall. Not only dragons. Not only this world. The void will spread, as it has done before. Worlds will burn, stars will fade, and your people will be nothing but ash." And the words struck deep. Marcus wanted to deny them, to cling to reason. Yet he remembered the roar that had shaken the forest, the desperate plea of the dying dragon, the fear in the voices of these creatures who should have been unstoppable. They weren't lying. Before he could answer, the ground shook. Snow slid from tree branches, falling in heavy sheets. A faint hum vibrated through the forest, unnatural, steady, mechanical. The dragons growled as one. Their wings shifted, eyes locked on the dark woods. They are here. The leader whispered. From between the trees, lights appeared. Small at first, like fireflies, but then brighter cold, sharp beams cutting through the snowfall. Shapes emerged, tall, skeletal figures with armor like obsidian and faces masked by glowing crimson slits. They moved without sound, weapons in hand, advancing with chilling precision. Marcus's breath caught. What are they? The dragon's voice was grim. Reapers. The figures closed in, spreading in a semicircle around the clearing. The dragons roared, shaking the earth. Fire licked from their throats, casting long shadows across the snow. One reaper raised its weapon, a long staff that pulsed with dark energy. It struck the ground, and a wave of force rippled outward, cracking the frozen earth. Marcus was thrown to his knees. His lantern shattered, plunging him into darkness. Save for the crimson glow of the hunters, the dragons fought. Fire met void. The clearing erupted in chaos. Flames scorched the snow while beams of black energy cut through the air, slicing trees in half. The ground shook as claws met steel. The air filled with roars, screams, and the crack of burning wood. Marcus crawled backward, heart hammering, his ears ringing from the thunder of the battle. He wanted to run, to hide, to pretend none of this was real. But as he looked at the lifeless body of the dragon beside him, felt the weight of its final words. Help us, the leader dragon bellowed, its wings spreading wide. Marcus, run to the mountain. Find the chamber. Marcus shouted back over the chaos. What chamber? What are you talking about? The dragon's eyes burned like fire through the smoke. Beneath the glacier. There you will see the truth. A beam of energy struck the dragon's flank, sending it crashing into the snow with a roar of pain. The other two leaped forward to protect it, flames spilling from their jaws. But the reapers did not falter. Marcus's blood turned cold. He realized he had no choice. The reapers weren't after just the dragons. They were after him too. He turned and ran. Snow whipped into his face, branches tore at his coat, but he didn't stop. Behind him, the battle raged, every roar and explosion echoing like thunder. The forest burned with strange fire, lighting the night in flashes of red and gold. Marcus stumbled through the dark, his breath ragged, his boots sinking into the deep snow. His mind reeled with questions, but one thought drowned them all. What if the dragons were right? What if he really was the last hope? The sound of wings thundered above him. He looked up, heart racing, expecting another dragon or worse, a reaper ship. Instead, he saw a shadow pass over the moon, a shape vast and alien gliding silently through the clouds. It wasn't a dragon. It wasn't human. It was something else. Marcus fell to his knees in the snow, staring upward as the sky itself seemed to shiver. The reapers weren't just hunting dragons. They were preparing for something bigger, something he wasn't ready to face. The words of the dragon echoed in his mind. You carry the bloodline. You must awaken the weapon. Marcus clenched his fists in the snow. He was no warrior. He was no chosen hero. But the world no longer cared what he believed. Something far worse than dragons had come to. Earth Marcus ran until his legs ached, until the cold air tore at his lungs. The forest behind him glowed with fire, and the sound of battle still shook the night. Roars of dragons clashed with the piercing shrieks of the reapers. He didn't dare look back. Snow crunched under his boots as he climbed higher into the mountains. The words of the dragon burned in his mind. Find the chamber beneath the glacier. But the mountains stretched endlessly upward, silent except for the sound of his own breath. No doors, no chambers. Just snow and ice. He stopped to catch his breath, leaning against a pine tree. His hands trembled. He was a mechanic, not a soldier. What could he possibly do against monsters from the stars? The wind shifted. Marcus froze. Above the treetops, the sky shimmered with movement. At first, he thought it was smoke drifting from the burning forest below. Then he realized these weren't clouds, they were ships. Dark silhouettes glided against the stars, massive and silent. Their hulls glowed faintly with crimson light, sharp like blades cutting the night. Marcus counted at least 5, then lost track as more emerged from the shadows. An armada. They weren't just hunting dragons. They were preparing for something bigger. Marcus's breath caught. He remembered the dragon's words. "If we fall, your kind will follow." A sharp crack split the air. He turned, heart pounding, saw a beam of black energy tear through the forest below. The blast leveled trees, turning snow into steam. The battle wasn't going well. Marcus stumbled backward, nearly falling into the snow. His instincts screamed at him to hide, but the dragon's voices echoed in his head. If he didn't find that chamber, there would be nowhere safe to hide. Not for him. Not for anyone. A sudden roar overhead made him drop to his knees. He looked up and saw a dragon soaring low, fire trailing from its wounded wings. The beast crashed into the snow a short distance away, sliding across the ice before collapsing with a pained groan. Marcus hesitated, then ran toward it. The dragon lifted its head weakly, its golden eyes dim but still burning with defiance. "Human," it rasped. "Why do you run?" Marcus knelt beside it, his voice shaking. "Because I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. I'm no warrior. I'm no chosen one." The dragon's breath came in shallow bursts, smoke curling from its jaws. "You doubt because you have forgotten, but the blood remembers." Its gaze turned upward, toward the mountains. "The chamber calls to you. Follow the glacier's heart. It will open only for you." Marcus shook his head. "This is madness." The dragon coughed, a spatter of dark blood melting the snow. "Madness. Or destiny. Choose quickly. They are coming." A new sound pierced the night metallic screeches, like claws dragging across stone. Marcus spun around. The shadows between the trees shifted. Tall figures emerged, their crimson eyes glowing like burning coals. Reapers. They moved silently through the snow, their staffs humming with deadly energy. There were at least a dozen of them, spreading out to encircle Marcus and the dragon. The wounded beast tried to rise, but collapsed again. Marcus stood frozen, heart racing. The Reapers closed in, their movement steady. It's unstoppable. One of them raised its staff, pointing directly at him. Marcus's chest tightened. He had no weapon, no plan, no chance. Then, a sudden blast of fire roared across the clearing. The flames swallowed 3 Reapers, sending them staggering back. Another dragon descended from the sky, its wings beating against the storm. This one was smaller but fierce, its scales shimmering in the firelight. It landed between Marcus and the Reapers, baring its teeth in a roar that shook the mountains. "Run, human," it commanded. "Run now." Marcus didn't argue. He sprinted toward the glacier, snow flying under his boots. Behind him, fire and shadow clashed, the sound of claws and steel echoing across the mountains. He didn't stop until the trees thinned, and the glacier rose before him, a wall of ice glowing faintly blue under the moonlight. Its surface towered high, jagged and endless. Marcus pressed his hands against the ice, desperate, searching for any sign of a door, a crack. Anything, nothing, just frozen silence. He slammed his fists against it. "Open, damn it, open." The ground trembled beneath him. A low hum resonated from deep within the glacier. Light spread across the ice, forming strange patterns, lines, and symbols. Glowing like veins of fire trapped in crystal, Marcus staggered back in awe. The glacier was alive. The ice split with a thunderous crack. A massive doorway formed, ancient and alien, spilling blinding white light across the snow. Marcus shielded his eyes. For a moment he saw shadows moving within the light shapes of machines. Towering structures and symbols older than language. The dragon's voice echoed faintly behind him. "The chamber awakens. You are the key." Marcus's heart pounded. He had found it. But as he stepped toward the glowing entrance, The sky above ripped open with thunder. A massive shadow loomed across the moon, one of the Reaper ships descending. Its crimson lights burning against the night. It was coming straight for him. Marcus froze. Caught between the glowing chamber of the glacier and the monstrous ship in the sky, the choice lay before him. Step into the unknown, or be crushed by what had already arrived. The glacier split open with a sound like thunder. Marcus staggered back as light poured from the massive doorway, spilling across the snow in blinding rays. The ice glowed with ancient symbols, shifting and pulsing like veins alive with fire. The mountain itself seemed to tremble, as if it had been waiting for this moment. Behind him, the sky roared. The Reaper ship descended, its hull cutting through the clouds like a blade. Crimson lights glared across the mountains. Locking onto him, the dragon's words echoed in his head. The chamber calls to you. It will open only for you. Marcus clenched his fists. He had no choice. He sprinted into the light. The ice closed behind him with a deafening crack, sealing the world outside. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. Marcus found himself standing in a cavern vast beyond comprehension. The walls glowed faintly, carved with patterns of stars and constellations he didn't recognize. Great machines, silent and dust-covered, loomed in the shadows. The air was warm, humming faintly, as though the chamber itself was alive. Marcus stepped forward, his boots echoing on smooth stone. His breath caught as he realized this wasn't natural ice. This was a structure. A fortress at the chamber's center rose a monolith, black and towering, etched with the same glowing lines as the glacier's walls. It pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Marcus approached cautiously. His hand trembled as he reached out. The moment his fingers brushed the cold surface, the chamber came alive. The walls flared with light. Machines whirred, gears grinding after centuries of silence. Stars appeared across the ceiling, forming a map of the galaxy. Voices, faint, layered, ancient, whispered in languages he didn't understand. The monolith pulsed brighter, and Marcus felt a jolt run through his body. His mind burned with visions: dragons soaring beside human fleets, ships of impossible size firing beams that split stars, warriors shouting in a language that somehow felt familiar. He staggered, clutching his head. The images weren't dreams. They were memories. Not his own, but carried in his blood. He saw humans standing on vast bridges of light, commanding entire armadas. He saw dragons kneeling before human leaders, their wings folded in respect. Together they fought creatures of shadow, vast and endless, till the void retreated. Then silence. Betrayal. The pact broken. The war forgotten. Marcus collapsed to his knees, gasping. His body felt heavy, his heart racing. The monolith's glow dimmed, then flared again, this time brighter than before. A voice filled the chamber, not human, not dragon, but something beyond. Bloodline confirmed. Sentinel awakening. The floor shifted. Panels opened, revealing machines rising from the depths. Weapons, armor, engines alien, yet familiar. A circular platform lifted into the air, its edges lined with glowing symbols. Marcus stumbled back. What? What is this? The voice answered, calm and eternal. The last weapon. The Sentinel of Earth, awaiting command. Marcus's mouth went dry. A weapon. The dragons had been right. Something had been buried beneath the ice, waiting for humanity to return. But as he stepped closer, the monolith pulsed again and he felt it. The connection. The weapon was tied to him. The moment his hand touched the platform, pain shot through his body. His vision blurred. His heartbeat synced with the hum of the machine. He felt strength, knowledge, tactics flooding his mind. But it came at a cost. His energy drained with every pulse. He gasped, ripping his hand free. The glow dimmed. His knees buckled, sweat freezing on his skin. The chamber's voice echoed again. Warning. Human host incomplete. Activation requires full bond. Marcus staggered to his feet. His chest burned, his breath ragged. He could barely stand, yet the truth was clear: the weapon could awaken. but it demanded his life force. He whispered to himself, voice shaking, "They want me to die for this." A deep rumble shook the chamber. The ice above cracked violently. The Reaper ship was drilling through, forcing its way inside. Marcus's eyes darted to the ceiling as chunks of ice fell. Shadows loomed through the cracks. The Reapers were coming. He stumbled back to the platform, torn between fear and duty. If he bonded fully, he might unleash the weapon, but it could kill him. If he didn't, the Reapers would reach him, and Earth would fall. The chamber lights flickered, as if urging him forward. His thoughts raced. He remembered the dying dragon's plea, the way it had whispered, "Help us." He remembered the herd bowing to him, speaking of a forgotten pact. He remembered the armada above Earth, ready to strike. His hand trembled as he reached for the platform again before he could touch it. The ceiling burst open. Reapers poured through the breach, their crimson eyes glowing, weapons raised. Marcus froze, caught between the ancient weapon and the advancing hunters, and then a roar shook the chamber. A dragon dove through the breach. Wings spread wide, fire spilling from its jaws. It crashed into the Reapers, scattering them like ash. The leader of the dragon with the curved horns landed hard beside Marcus, blood staining its scales but its eyes burning bright. "Activate it, human." The dragon thundered. "The void is here." Marcus looked at the glowing platform, then at the Reapers advancing again. His heart pounded, every instinct screaming at him to run. Instead, he stepped forward, placed both hands on the weapon, and let the chamber claim him. The light exploded. Swallowing him whole, light engulfed Marcus. The chamber shook as the weapon answered his touch. Symbols along the walls blazed with fire, machines roared to life, and energy surged through his veins. He gasped as visions filled his mind, formations of fleets, codes of war. Commands shouted in forgotten tongues that somehow he understood. The sentinel had awakened. Reapers staggered back as the chamber's glow intensified, forcing them to shield their faces with armored hands. The dragon with the curved horns roared, its fire lighting the cavern, driving the hunters into retreat for a moment. But Marcus could barely stand. His strength was pouring into the weapon, draining him. His chest burned with each breath, his vision swimming. He felt both stronger and weaker at once, as though his body was breaking to make something greater rise. The chamber's voice echoed. Bond incomplete. Human host at 34%. Continue? Marcus's hand trembled. If he continued, he didn't know if his body could survive, but if he stopped, the Reapers would overrun them before he could answer. A new roar thundered through the cavern. Another dragon landed, massive scales, dark as night, eyes burning like coals. It was not the leader. Marcus had seen it before, lurking at the edge of the herd, silent, watching him with suspicion. Now it stepped forward, its wings spreading wide, blocking Marcus from the weapon. "Enough," it growled, its voice like grinding stone. "This human is no savior. He is a thief of our power," the leader snarled. "Stand aside, Kale. Without him, we fall." Kale's eyes narrowed, glowing with fury. "Without him, we would not need saving. This is dragonkind's war, not humanity's. We do not bow to a fragile creature." Marcus staggered back, the chamber's glow flickering around him. "What are you talking about?" Kale turned its blazing eyes on him. "The weapon drains your life to awaken, and when you are gone, it will answer to us. That is why they kept you alive, human. To use you as a key, nothing more." He glanced at the leader, desperate for denial. But the dragon's silence was heavy, telling so that was the truth. Kale roared, fire building in his throat. "I will not let my kind kneel to you. You are weak, and weakness dies." Before Marcus could move, Kale struck. A blast of fire erupted, aimed straight at him. The leader hurled itself in the way, its scales burning as it shielded Marcus. The cavern shook with the impact. The leader roared in pain, wings flaring wide. "Run, human." It bellowed. Marcus stumbled back, his body screaming with exhaustion, but Kale was already moving again. The dark dragon lunged, claws tearing through stone as it came for him. Marcus grabbed the platform, the only weapon he had. The sentinel flared in response, its energy rushing into him like fire through his veins. His eyes burned with light. He raised his hand, and a blast of pure force erupted outward. Slamming Kale across the cavern, the dragon roared in fury. Crashing into the wall, shards of ice raining down, Marcus fell to his knees. Gasping, his skin pale. The weapon was tearing him apart. The Reapers seized the chaos, surging forward again. Their staffs hummed with deadly energy as they closed in. Kale rose, wings tearing through the falling ice. His eyes locked on Marcus with hatred. You see, even now, the weapon devours you. You will not survive it. Better you die now, before the void claims us all. The leader roared back, blood dripping from its jaws. Kale, stop this madness. Without him, there is no hope. Kale's voice was a growl of thunder. Then let hope burn. The two dragons clashed, fire against fire, claws against scales. Their roars shook the chamber as Reapers circled, their crimson eyes glowing brighter in the chaos. Marcus forced himself to stand, every muscle screaming. He staggered toward the platform, desperate. If he could finish the bond, maybe, just maybe, he could turn the tide. But Kale saw him. With a roar, the dark dragon swept its massive tail, striking the floor. The ground split open beneath Marcus's feet. He stumbled, the ice collapsing. For a single, breathless moment, Marcus hung in the air. Then the earth gave way. He plunged into darkness. The last thing he saw was the chamber's light fading above him. The leader dragon roaring his name, Kale's eyes burning with rage, and Reapers closing in. Then he fell into the abyss. Swallowed by black, Marcus fell. Darkness swallowed him, the icy walls flashing past as he plunged deeper into the earth. His scream tore through the void, but no one could hear it. Then, without warning, his body slammed into something solid. Pain shot through him, and then silence. He wasn't dead. Marcus groaned, forcing his eyes open. He lay on smooth stone, not jagged ice. Around him, faint blue light glowed from markings carved into the walls. They weren't cracks. They were patterns, symbols. He pushed himself up, wincing at the ache in his ribs. His lantern was gone, shattered in the fall, but he didn't need it. The chamber itself glowed, soft and steady, and then he heard them voices, not outside. Inside his head, whispers layered upon whispers, speaking in 1,000 tongues. Some were sharp, like commands, others soft, like memories. The voices rose until one broke through, clear and steady. You are not the first. You are the last. Marcus spun around, his fists raised, though he had no weapon. Who's there? The air shimmered. Before him appeared images, holograms of humans long dead. Men and women in armor of light, standing tall, their eyes blazing with the same strange glow he had felt in the sentinel. Dragons stood beside them, wings folded in respect. The vision shifted. Vast human fleets filled the skies, warships larger than mountains, their cannons firing beams that split stars. Dragons flew beside them, fire and light burning the void. Together, they fought endless shadows reapers, swarms of them, blackening the galaxy. Marcus's breath caught. This is real, the voices answered in unison. This is memory. This is blood. Humanity once led the war. You are their heir. The visions changed. He saw battles lost, fleets burning, humans falling one by one. The dragons fought on, but without human command, they faltered. Worlds fell. The Reapers spread. And then a final pact. The surviving humans hid the sentinel beneath the ice of Earth. They placed their last hope in bloodlines, scattered and silent. Waiting for a day when the void returned, Marcus fell to his knees, his chest heaving. No, I can't do this. I'm no general. I'm not chosen. The chamber pulsed with light. A voice sharper than the rest answered. You carry their memory, their strength, their will. You are enough. Marcus looked at his hands. They trembled, glowing faintly with the same light that ran through the sentinel. He remembered the power that had surged into him before the way it had answered his touch, the way it had made him more. It hadn't been madness. It was inheritance. A sudden tremor shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. The Reapers were breaking through the upper chamber. The visions shifted again. This time, Marcus stood in a field of stars. Before him stretched a massive armada, not of dragons, but of human ships, silent and waiting. Their hulls were black with age, but their lights flickered faintly, as though dormant. Marcus whispered, awed, "Are they still out there?" The voice answered, "Fragments remain, echoes of the fleets. They slumber. You can call them." Marcus's heart pounded. Humanity's forgotten warships. Still waiting, the light dimmed, the voices fading, but one final phrase echoed in his skull. Awaken and lead. The ground shook again, harder this time. Marcus stumbled, then looked upward. Through a jagged crack above, he saw faint red light, the Reapers breaching. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He pressed his hand to the glowing floor. Energy surged into him, hotter than fire, brighter than lightning. His veins burned, his vision blurred, but he did not pull away. This time, he didn't fight the power. He embraced it. The chamber erupted with light. Symbols blazed across the walls, spreading outward through the cracks of the glacier. Above, the mountains themselves seemed to glow. Marcus's eyes flared with light as vision sharpened into clarity. He saw not just the present, but the paths of battle, the way the Reapers moved, the way dragons flew, the way weapons must be aimed. Tactics older than time filled his mind. He wasn't a mechanic anymore. He was a commander. The ice above shattered. Reapers poured through, their staffs raised, crimson light burning. Marcus rose to his feet, his body trembling but unbroken. He raised his glowing hand, and the sentinel answered. Beams of pure energy erupted from the walls, cutting through the Reapers like fire through paper. Their shrieks echoed before silence consumed them. The cavern fell still. Marcus stood alone, breathing hard, his body blazing with the weapon's power. For the first time, he felt it not just fear, but something else. Strength. But it came with a cost. His muscles burned, his veins ached, and his vision blurred at the edges. The sentinel was feeding him knowledge and power. But it was draining him too. He staggered, gripping the wall to steady himself. His chest heaved. His heart thundered. He could feel his life being chipped away, piece by piece. Yet in his mind's eye, he saw them, the forgotten armada, silent in the dark. Waiting for a voice to call them home, he whispered to himself, teeth clenched, "If I'm the last, then I'll make it count." Above, the muffled sound of dragons roared through the glacier. The battle raged on. Reapers were still out there. And now Marcus knew this wasn't just about dragons. It wasn't just about him. This was about humanity's return. He rose, eyes blazing as the chamber's voice spoke one last command. Sentinel bond at 62%. Awaiting completion. Marcus exhaled, steadying himself. He had no idea if he'd survive the full bond. But one truth was certain. The Reapers were about to learn that humanity was not extinct. Humanity had only been sleeping, and now it was waking. The mountains split with a sound like thunder. Marcus climbed from the glowing chamber, his body trembling with power. The sentinel's light still burned in his veins, his eyes reflecting its fire. Snow whipped across the peaks as the night sky opened above him, lit not by stars, but by war. The Reaper armada hung in orbit, their ships black silhouettes with crimson eyes. They shifted like predators circling prey, beams of red light stabbing down into the mountains. The forest burned below, fire and smoke rising like a funeral pyre. Dragons fought in the sky. Their roars shook the earth as they breathed storms of fire against the ships, but the Reapers struck back. Crimson beams cut through wings, shattered scales, sent mighty beasts crashing into the snow. The leader dragon, bleeding but unbroken, landed beside Marcus, its golden eyes fierce. "The weapon answers you now. Lead us, Human. Marcus clenched his fists. His body felt torn between strength and weakness, every heartbeat burning like fire. Yet in his mind, the Sentinel's knowledge flowed clear. He saw the patterns of battle, the weak points in enemy lines, the moves to make before they even came. Above, a Reaper ship descended, its cannons glowing. Ready to fire? Marcus raised his hand. The glacier below them roared. From beneath the ice, vast machines rose, metallic towers and turrets. Weapons of impossible scale, forgotten for centuries. Beams of pure light fired upward, striking the Reaper ship. Its hull split in half, burning as it fell into the mountainside. The dragon's eyes widened. For the first time, awe filled its ancient gaze. The Sentinel lives again. But Marcus wasn't finished. His mind reached further, out into the void. He felt it, the faint signals of ships scattered across the darkness. Forgotten fleets. Lost human warships, still waiting. He whispered the words that came to him. Words not his own, but carried in his blood. Awaken. The stars answered, lights flared in the night as ancient ships flickered to life. One by one, hulks that had drifted in silence for centuries turned toward Earth. Engines ignited. Weapons-armed hulls glowing with the fire of humanity reborn. The forgotten armada had returned. Dragons roared in triumph, their wings beating stronger, their fire burning brighter. Together they rose, joining the ancient fleet as it descended into the battle. The sky burned. Human warships unleashed storms of energy, cutting through Reaper vessels. Dragons wove between them, fire and plasma striking where cannons could not reach. The mountain shook as the earth itself joined the fight, Sentinels ground weapons firing into the heavens. Marcus stood at the center, his body blazing with light. Every move of the fleet, every strike of dragon fire, every counter of the Reapers, it all flowed through him. He was no longer one man. He was commander, fleet, and flame. But the Reapers did not falter. Their ships shifted. Forming a massive formation around Earth, crimson beams converged, tearing through dragons, shattering human ships. For every Reaper destroyed, two more surged forward. Their power bent the sky, their shadows swallowing the stars. The leader dragon growled, wings trembling. They bring their masters. Marcus looked up and his blood ran cold. The void itself opened. A tear spread across the heavens. Blacker than night, wider than mountains. From it emerged shapes too vast to be called ships, their bodies twisted with shifting shadows, their eyes burning like red suns. They bent reality as they moved, warping the stars behind them. The Void Reapers. The true ones. Not hunters. Not soldiers. The masters. The dragons faltered. Even the strongest hesitated, their fire dimming. The armada trembled as if ships themselves felt fear. Marcus's knees weakened. The Sentinel's voice whispered in his skull. Final threat detected. Probability of survival, 0.7%. He almost collapsed. How could he fight this? How could anyone? Then he remembered the visions. The humans of old standing unbroken beside dragons, leading fleets against the same endless void. They hadn't asked if they could win. They had fought because there was no other choice. Marcus gritted his teeth. We fight. He raised both hands. The Sentinel flared brighter than ever, beams of pure light striking the heavens. The armada answered his command, surging forward. Dragons roared in defiance, their fire joining the storm. The void itself screamed. The battle was chaos. Reaper Masters unleashed waves of dark energy that swallowed ships whole. Dragons fell, burning from the skies. Human vessels detonated in brilliant fire, tearing holes into the enemy's shadowed flesh. The earth below cracked. Mountains splitting as weapons buried beneath the ice fired upward. Marcus felt his strength fading with every second. His body trembled, his skin burned, his heart raced too fast. The Sentinel was draining him, but he couldn't stop. Not now. The leader dragon flew above him, fire spilling from its jaws. Its voice thundered across the battlefield. Hold. Human, do not let go. The void fears your kind most of all. Marcus screamed through the pain, forcing the sentinel to burn brighter. His vision blurred, his body cracked with light. But the fleet moved as one under his command. For a moment, just a moment, the Reaper Masters faltered. The sky itself seemed to break, torn between shadow and fire. And Marcus's Nutha final choice was coming. The Sentinel whispered one last option in his mind. Bond completion required. Cost: life. Marcus's hands shook. His body was nearly gone already. If he gave everything, there would be no return. But if he didn't, the void would win. He clenched his teeth, eyes blazing as the heavens tore above him. The sky burned, and Marcus Hale stood, ready to make the choice that would change the galaxy. The sky was fire. Dragons burned through the clouds, their roars shaking the heavens as they clashed with Crimson Reaper ships. Human warships, long lost and forgotten, rained energy across the void, their cannons glowing with ancient fury, and yet the Reaper Masters pressed on. Their vast bodies writhed like living shadows, bending reality itself as they struck. Whole fleets vanished in bursts of red light. Dragons fell screaming, their wings torn away by beams of darkness. Marcus Hale stood at the center of it all, his body ablaze with the Sentinel's power. His eyes glowed like twin suns, his veins lit with fire. Every second burned him from the inside out, yet he did not stop. The Sentinel's voice filled his skull. Final sequence available. Completion will ensure victory. Cost: total life. Clenched his fists, his breath ragged. He had known this was coming. Since the first moment he touched the weapon, he had felt it pulling at him, demanding everything. Now, with the galaxy's fate on the edge of a blade, there was no choice left. The leader dragon soared past him, its golden eyes locking with his. Do not falter, human. The void fears you most. Finish this. Marcus raised his hands to the sky. The sentinel roared to life, its beams piercing through the storm. Power surged, tearing at his flesh, cracking his skin with light. His body shook, his knees buckled, but his will held firm. The armada answered. Every ship, every turret, every dragon turned in unison, following his command. Together, they unleashed everything they had against the Reaper Masters. The void screamed. The shadowed titans staggered, their bodies shattering beneath the storm of fire and light. The night sky turned brighter than day as explosions rippled across orbit. Stars seemed to tremble as reality itself strained against the force. Marcus cried out, his voice echoing with the roar of the sentinel. His body burned, his heart failing, but his spirit stood unbroken. The sentinel whispered one last time, bond complete. Victory assured.
Ow.
Marcus exhaled. For the first time, he felt peace. Then the light consumed him. A blinding storm erupted from the mountains, a wave of pure energy surging across the battlefield. Dragons shielded their eyes, ships buckled under the force, and the Reaper Masters shrieked as the wave tore through them. Their shadows unraveled, their crimson eyes fading into nothing. When the light faded, silence followed. The sky was clear. The Reapers were gone. Dragons hovered in awe, their wings trembling. The human armada hung motionless, then slowly drifted, their lights dimming once more, but Marcus was gone, where he had stood. Only glowing ashes remained, carried away by the wind. The leader dragon landed upon the glacier, lowering its massive head to the ground. Its golden eyes shimmered not with fire, but with grief and respect. He gave all. For us, the herd bowed their heads, their wings folding tight against their bodies. For the first time in dragon memory, they bowed not to a king, not to a god, but to a man. Above, the human warships lingered silently, their engines dim. Yet one by one, they began to turn, aligning not toward the void, but toward the stars. As if answering a call Marcus had set in motion before his end, the leader dragon lifted its head, watching. He is not gone. He has only awakened the rest. Far beyond Earth, Across hidden worlds and silent stations, echoes stirred. Humans who had slept in stasis, forgotten through time, opened their eyes. Their memories long lost turned in fragments of light. The galaxy shifted. Dragons knew now that the humans were not myths. They were not weak. They were not extinct. They were returning. The herd spread their wings, lifting into the sky. The leader's voice thundered across the mountains one last time. Remember his name? Marcus Hale, the man who lit the fire again. Humanity rises, and as the dragons soared into the heavens, their roars carrying across the world. Earth itself seemed to awaken. The age of silence had ended. The age of humanity had begun again.